Hi everybody, Mamta Banerjee is one of the most controversial politicians in the Indian political landscape.
She is a very powerful politician, the most powerful female politician we have.
Her political journey are just as unique and intriguing as her fascinating style of politics.
और भ्रष्टाचार के नाम पर सब काला हो गया, उन्होंने क्या वो लोग सब सादा हो गया, कैसे इतना सादा हो गया?
ऐसे बांग्लाয় ভোট তো আমি এনআরসি করব, শান্তি দেবে লোকে ভোট, একটা কাঁচা কলম দেবে না তোমার।
And West Bengal has had such a terrible history that a state that was once known as an industrial powerhouse like Gujarat, the same state of West Bengal has now become one of the worst performing states in the country.
How Mamta Banerjee seems to be driving West Bengal's economy down.
West Bengal, once a thriving economic hub, now finds itself in a precarious position.
A major healthcare crisis is looming in West Bengal.
Every time I read these kind of numbers for Bengal, my heart sinks with grief.
Look at this. In the 1960s, West Bengal was the number one state in GDP per capita. And today, it has gotten so bad that West Bengal has fallen behind Mizoram, Tripura and even Arunachal Pradesh. Similarly, in 1947, 24% of India's industrial output came only from Bengal. And as of 2021, this number was less than 4%. And if you look at the employment figures, West Bengal was the worst performing state from 2016 to 2023. While West Bengal lost 3 million jobs, Maharashtra added 2.4 million jobs in the same tenure. This is the reason why the economy of West Bengal is in complete shambles. And while most people think it's only because of Mamta Banerjee, they're actually wrong. There is a much bigger reason for the fall of West Bengal. And this reason has ruined not just Bengal, it has ruined Kerala, it has led to the fall of the Soviet Union, and it has even killed the Chinese economy. This is an economic virus called communism. And as citizens of India, all of us need to understand it properly so that no other politician can use this tool to rise to power at the cost of our growth and at the cost of our development. So in this episode today, let's do a deep dive and try to understand how did communism turn West Bengal into a disaster? What was Mamta Banerjee's role in the downfall of West Bengal? What is she doing now to uplift West Bengal? And most importantly, as citizens of India, what are the most important lessons that we need to learn from the fall of West Bengal? Chalo, let's start with the understanding of what is communism and capitalism. Let's start with capitalism. Let's say there are two farmers, farmer A and farmer B, who work on their field. Farmer A works very hard, puts in 12 hours of work a day and harvests 100 kg of wheat at the end of the season. Whereas farmer B, he takes it very easy, works only for 5 hours a day and harvests about 60 kg of wheat at the end of the season. Now, in a capitalistic system, farmer A would become rich because of his extra sales, and farmer B, he would just remain middle class. But in communism, what happens is that no matter how hard both farmers have worked, at the end of the season, both farmer A and farmer B's harvest are pooled together and they form a combined harvest of 160 kgs. And then this 160 kg of harvest is equally divided among everyone in the village regardless of how much each person has contributed. So if there are 10 people in the village, everyone will receive 16 kg of wheat each. Now do you see what is the problem with the system? If you were farmer A, how would you feel if you get the same recognition and money as the lazy farmer B? How would you feel if your extra hours do not make any difference to your life and your family's life at all? You will feel bad, right? This is exactly what happens in communism. So two problems arise as a result of this system. Number one, there is a lack of motivation. So farmer A might think, why should I work so hard if I get the same amount as the lazy farmer B? So next time even he will work only for 5 hours and his yield will go down to 60 kgs. So now if you see the collective yield, it will only be 120 kgs. So with time, the productivity of the people in the system goes down. Why? Because there is no incentive for extra performance. And secondly, there is no reward for innovation. So if farmer A comes up with a new farming technique that could increase yield, he will never share it with the society because no matter how amazing the innovation is, he will not get extra money or extra wheat for his family. So there is less incentive for innovation, because of which productivity does not shoot up at all. And this begs the question, if communism is so bad, then why do people still practice it? Well, that is because, ladies and gentlemen, it seems idealistic and more importantly, it is very, very convenient to follow. Because by definition, communism aims to eliminate inequality to ensure that everybody has their basic needs met. And like we saw in our farmer example, everyone gets enough wheat to survive regardless of their individual effort. So the entire community can survive regardless of who is weak or who is lazy. If this is very, very clear to you, let's try to understand how communism is applied to the states of India and how it has caused an economic disaster. The classic example for this is Kerala. Kerala's communism focused so much on education and healthcare that today Kerala has the highest literacy rate of 93.91%. That's higher than the national average of just 74%. Plus, their healthcare system is one of the best in the country. So, this seems like an amazing system, right? But look at this. The irony is that in spite of having the best healthcare and education system in the country, Kerala has the second highest unemployment rate in India. And businesses are not at all interested in going to Kerala, because of which the youth are moving out of Kerala. So the question is, when education and healthcare is so good, what exactly is the problem? Well, the answer to it came from Shashi Tharoor in our podcast. Look at this.
The communists have done Kerala a huge disservice because in fighting for workers' rights, which is something admirable, they have won those rights, but they've also driven away investors.
Well, the problem is that the government in Kerala doesn't like big businesses at all. So they don't put restrictions on unions. The laborers go on strike very often to demand more wages, and the government makes it very hard for big businesses to survive. Why? Because they believe in equality, which means whatever the rich makes, it must be divided amongst the poor. If it is not divided, then the system is rigged and the rich must be punished. In fact, lately, Kerala has witnessed militancy of labor, and it is absolutely horrifying for businesses in Kerala. This is the reason why Kerala has engulfed itself into a terrible economic crisis. If this is very, very clear to you, let's look at West Bengal. West Bengal has been under communist rule for decades, and just like Kerala, if you look at the trajectory of West Bengal, it's actually even worse. West Bengal was under communist rule for 34 long years from 1977 to 2011. During this time, West Bengal became so disastrous that, like I said before, West Bengal went from being the number one state with regards to per capita GDP in 1960 to one of the worst performing states in India. Its industrial output contribution went from a massive 24% of India in 1947 to just 3.5% in 2021. And lastly, West Bengal's contribution to the GDP fell from 10.5% in 1960 to just 5.6% in 2023. And all of this happened due to the disastrous acts of the communists. You know what they did? Here are three of the most terrible things that they did, which will give you a fair idea about why is West Bengal failing. Number one, multinational investment in West Bengal was practically impossible, and in the name of promoting small businesses, the big businessmen were almost treated like criminals. And a pathetic example is what they did to Aditya Birla. Aditya Birla, as we all know, is one of India's most famous industrialists. You know what they did to Aditya Birla? He was dragged out of his car, he was thrashed, his clothes were torn, and he was forced to walk while a crowd was laughing at him. And why did they do this? Simply because he had a big company and was operating in Bengal. That day, he took a flight to Bombay and never returned to West Bengal. And he took all of his money and offices out of Bengal. And it wasn't just Birla. Brook Bond India, the Singhanias of JK Tyre, and electronics giant Philips India, all of them have abandoned Bengal. And because of such move-outs, investments fell, industries left, and the unemployment started rising in Bengal. Secondly, trade unions were supported so much that it came at the expense of productivity. In 1965, there were 179 strikes and 49 incidents of lockout in factories. But by 1970, this number increased to 678 strikes and 128 incidents of lockouts. Now, just to give you an idea about what happens in a strike, if you run a factory, tomorrow, suddenly 10,000 laborers might ask to double their income because they want equality. So if an average worker is being paid 10,000 rupees a month, that is 10 crore rupees in expenses per month for the company. But tomorrow, if they demand for double salary and you offer it to them, your expenses will shoot up by 10 crore rupees per month and by 120 crores a year. Now you tell me, suddenly due to worker strike, if your profits go down from 150 crores to 30 crores, how would you feel? Very bad, right? And guess what? If you don't offer them the wages that they demand, they will stop working and your factory will lose out on productivity. Eventually, you will end up in loss with each passing day of strike. So these kinds of activities of labor unions increased so much in Bengal that they were making it difficult for factories and industries to carry out their production. As a result, the productivity of West Bengal decreased to 13.5% in 1970 from 24% in 1955 and 56. So if you see, communism was about fighting for workers, but when these businesses quit due to unions, the laborers were left unemployed, which literally defeated the very purpose of communism. And this went on till 1990, and then the historic moment of liberalization happened in India.
The social and economic transformation of India had to take place in the framework of an open society committed to parliamentary democracy and the rule of law.
Now, when the economy started liberalizing in the 1990s, the communist government realized how pushing businesses out of the state was hurting their economy. But by that time, the people of Bengal had been protesting against big businesses for so long that it almost became second nature to them. They didn't even stop to think about how it was holding them back. And the irony is that they thought they were standing up for their rights, but in reality, the people of Bengal were just hurting their own future. And just like this, the infamous event of Tata Motors happened in West Bengal. Long story short, for those who don't know, in 2006, Tata Motors announced plans to launch a revolutionary car that we all know today as Nano. And interestingly, they chose Singur in West Bengal to make these Tata Nanos. And this factory was approved by the communist government itself. And this factory was about to create thousands of jobs, and it was about to contribute hundreds of crores for the state government in taxes. But you know what did the people of Bengal do? Out of their instinctive nature, they started revolting against the Tatas. And Mamta Banerjee from the opposition at that time, she started supporting the people of Bengal. And why wouldn't she? After all, communists hate industrialists, and when she supported them, she won their vote for the next elections. So the protest led by Mamta Banerjee literally drove out the Tatas, and it caused a massive loss of employment to West Bengal. And what did the Tatas do? They simply went to Gujarat and set up a factory over there. And also, Mamta Banerjee was elected as the chief minister in 2011.
तो ममता बनर्जी ने 34 साल बाद लेफ्ट फ्रंट का राज खत्म किया। 2/3 बहुमत के साथ ममता बनर्जी पश्चिम बंगाल की सत्ता में आई और आज उन्होंने मुख्यमंत्री पद की शपथ ली।
Mamta Banerjee is India's Federal Railways Minister. She's popular among the poor and has promised to revive West Bengal's fortunes.
So do you see the pattern? Even if the communist government tried to support businesses, the opposition used it as an opportunity to sympathize with the people and came to power. So the party in power is always left with two choices. They either listen to the communist crowd, or the opposition uses the communist crowd to win the next elections. Either ways, the business is lost and the people of Bengal lose. And now the situation is so bad that even if Mamta Banerjee herself wanted to become a capitalist, the people of Bengal won't allow her to become one. This is how communism has ruined West Bengal. So now the question is West Bengal really in such a terrible state because of Mamta Banerjee? Well, this is an unpopular opinion, but Bengal is in a terrible state because of communism and not just because of Mamta Banerjee. In fact, lately, Mamta Banerjee has been working hard to improve the situation of West Bengal. And I know this sounds quite counterintuitive looking at the picture that the media paints in front of you. So here's where I've got some stats to show you. Back in 2010-11, Bengal's debt to GSDP ratio was at an alarming 40.65%, which was the highest in the country. But under Mamta's leadership, by 2018-19, this ratio had dropped to 35.69%. And today, it's still very high at 37.08%. But it is still a significant improvement from 2010. Secondly, we come to fiscal deficit. For those who don't know, fiscal deficit is the difference between a government's total spending and its total revenue in a given financial year. So if the government makes 100 rupees but spends 120 rupees, this 20 rupees extra is the fiscal deficit. This number is expressed as a percentage of GDP. So if the fiscal deficit is 20 rupees and if the GDP is 200 rupees, then fiscal deficit is 20 divided by 200 equal to 10% of the GDP. So if the fiscal deficit is very high, it means that the economy is in a bad state. If the fiscal deficit is coming down, it means that the economy is improving. Now for West Bengal in 2010-11, the state's fiscal deficit was 4.2% of the state's GDP. But fast forward to 2024, it was down to 3.49%. Similarly, when we look at Bengal's GSDP growth rate, In 2012-13, it was 4.17%, but by 2016-17, it shot up to 7.2%, and by 2024, it is expected to grow by 10.5%. So this begs the question, what exactly did Mamta do? Because even today, she is seen as someone who's against big industries. Well, let's try to understand this in short. And if you want a separate video on this, drop a comment below and we'll make an entire episode on what exactly has Mamta Banerjee done in West Bengal. But as of now, let's look at the shorter version. Firstly, in 2013, she launched a new industrial and investment policy of West Bengal. And the goal of this policy was to increase the manufacturing growth rate from 4.7% to an ambitious 20%. And just like Modi ji introduced single window clearance system and land banking system in Gujarat, Mamta Banerjee also introduced land banks for easy land acquisition, single window clearances, a simplified tax regime and a no bandh policy, meaning no labor strikes policy to ensure peace and stability for the businesses. Secondly, in 2015, she started the Bengal Global Business Summit, just like the vibrant Gujarat Summit in Gujarat, which was started by Modi ji. And here's where big industrialists were called to invest in West Bengal. All their problems were solved and the processes were fast-tracked to get them land and manufacturing capabilities as soon as possible. And lastly, Mamta Banerjee has done a lot for the people of Bengal. She initiated several schemes for everyone, from children's education to women education to farmer loans to health insurance to even unemployment assistance. And if you're a citizen of West Bengal, you tell me in the comments if they've really been effective or is it just a marketing gimmick. And by the way, there are also media reports which say that Mamta Banerjee's party members have become so aggressive that they tend to become violent and they've harmed several candidates from different parties to an extent where they say that Mamta Banerjee's party members are also behind some of the deaths of other party candidates.
बीजेपी प्रत्याशी राहुल लोहार पर हमला किया गया है, टीएमसी कार्यकर्ताओं पर हमले का आरोप लगा है।
ममता बनर्जी एक दल उग्रवादी और संतरासवादी के ऊपर राज्य का भविष्य छोड़ दिया।
No, I don't know how true this is. I don't know much about it. You can tell me about it in the comments with proofs which will make your comment even more effective. But long story short, from what we can understand from theory and through the numbers and through the stats, Mamta Banerjee has been trying to bring a balance between economic growth and equality. But the sad thing is that big businesses are still skeptical of investing in Bengal. You don't believe me? Look at this. From 2015 to 2019, the summit generated investment proposals worth 12.3 lakh crores. But the sad fact is that only 37,000 crores worth of investments were actually made. That's just 3% of the total proposals. In comparison, if you look at the vibrant Gujarat Summit, they've been able to convert over 90% of the proposed investments, and Tamil Nadu is also converting about 65% of the promised investments. And when it comes to FDI also, West Bengal has been very slow. West Bengal's share in FDI inflow in the country stood at only 1% as of 2019-20, and from 2019 to 2024, it attracted just 0.7% of India's total FDI. So do you see what is the problem? The communist rule and Mamta Banerjee's own communist election strategies have costed West Bengal so heavily that even if they themselves want to change their mindset, even after decades, they have not been successful. Why? Because the people of Bengal have just become too communist, and it's going to take a lot of time to change their mindset from being a communist to being a capitalist. So at the end of the day, in the race of politics and communism, a great state has lost its glory. The people of Bengal have not prospered as much as they could, and the industries have lost billions simply because of a ridiculous philosophy. This is the cost of communism. It failed in Kerala, it failed in West Bengal, it failed in China, and it will keep failing in the future because the world is moving towards a capitalistic system. And in this system, communism will always be a failure because it stifles innovation and it doesn't incentivize excellence. So the question over here is, what exactly is the solution? Because if solution is capitalism, even capitalism could lead to crony capitalism, right? So what do we do? Well, the solution to this is something called conscious capitalism. And if you want to know more about it, we'll take this up in another episode. But for now, let's move on to the most important part of the episode, and that are the lessons that we need to learn from the fall of West Bengal. Lesson number 1. As the legendary Margaret Thatcher once said, the problem with communism is that you eventually run out of other people's money. I repeat, the problem with communism is that you eventually run out of other people's money. In this case, we saw how the communists did not have the money of their own, but they also killed the economic engine of West Bengal in such a way that they made the businesses run out of their money. Lesson number 2. The purpose of an opposition in a democracy is constructive criticism. But if that constructive criticism becomes destructive criticism and they win, it will kill the economy. In this case, we saw how Mamta Banerjee used the communist mindset of the people to oppose the Tatars, which was a terrible idea. And it did get her the power, but at what cost? It came at the cost of the economy. This is the reason why it is absolutely important for the opposition to participate in constructive criticism and not destructive criticism. Because after all, the opposition and the ruling party both are working for the benefit of the people and not the benefit of themselves. I mean, they're supposed to work for the benefit of the people and not for the benefit of themselves. Lesson number 3. A mob has many heads but no brains, which is practically the weak point of democracy. So while governance and economics are a craft that demand wisdom, the people of democracy are too uninformed to make decisions on governance and economics. So to entrust a nation's finances to the uninformed is the best idea to invite ruins. In this case, we are seeing that even if the government of Bengal wants to change, the communist mindset of the people has become an invisible rope that is binding them to the past and that is hindering their path towards a prosperous future. This is the weakness of our system that we, the people of democracy, must be aware of. These are the lessons that we need to learn from the fall of West Bengal. And I just hope you learned something valuable today, guys. If you learned something valuable, please make sure to hit the like button in order to make YouTube Baba happy. And for more such insightful business and political case studies, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.